All right, everybody, welcome back to this week's episode of The Comp Effect. Today, we have a special guest here, Andrew Clark, who is the new owner of Premium Recovery Group, or CCG Premium Recovery Group. They are a firm that performs premium audit, recovery, and XMod fixing nationally, and they work solely on contingency. And I think, Andrew, we connected on LinkedIn. Guys, agents, businesses, 70% of your company's mods are incorrect. And I know Andrew's going to talk about that today. And he's going to share some examples and stories with us. But let's dig in on maybe why your company or your clients should be having a mod audit performed and what the outcomes of that look like. And so today, Andrew, thanks so much for joining us. I see you're in your car there and you don't want to miss the meeting. Dude, I love that. You're a go-getter.
Yeah, Todd. Yes, I'm a go-getter. Yep. And, I feel like, I didn't want to miss this meeting because I know it's going to be, traveling through a lot of years. And I want people to really understand the importance of experience mod reviews, really understand the benefits of evaluating your workers' compensation costs, and understanding that mistakes do happen on workers' comp policies and in terms of experience mods. There's classification errors, miscoded claims. There's a whole bunch of different things that we check. And I think it's important, especially in an economy right now where every single dollar counts for companies, every dollar. During this pandemic, we've seen all these different types of loans come out and all these different types of resources. But has anybody ever thought about the idea that maybe their mod is inaccurate, which can result in premium dollars to be refunded back to companies? And not only be refunded, but can be cost saving as well if the mod is inaccurate on future policies. So yes, I didn't want to miss this meeting. I think it's important for people to hear what this is about, what I do, the success that we have, why there are so limited amount of companies like ours in the country, because it's a very convoluted system. But we wouldn't be in business for 30 years. I mean, my father started this business 30 years ago, working for a carrier, realizing the mistakes that were being made. It was him and my uncle at the time, was realizing all the mistakes that were being made and said, hey, we're going to go ahead, we're going to open up our own company, go back and correct mistakes for other firms, and work on contingency and put big dollars back into companies' pockets. So here we are 30 years later. We're a second generation business. I've taken the reign. And my father always said it, if people did what they were supposed to do over the last 30 years, he wouldn't have been able to put food on the table. So here we are. People make mistakes, and you as the client or if you're a producer should not be afraid to introduce or get in touch with me, because I know that there's great things I can do for your insureds or on a contingency basis. And I'm sure, Todd, you have questions for me. I don't want to ramble, but I think we can definitely touch upon the questions you have and get into cost, time consuming, and how all that stuff works. So.
Awesome. So give us a little bit. Has this been your gig since the beginning, or when did you join the family business?
I joined it about 13 years ago. And believe it or not, I actually have a master's degree in school counseling. So my mother passed away about 13 years ago. My father said, she wants you to get your degree. And then I said to him, yes, I'll get the degree, but I love this part of the business. It's not selling insurance. It's very different. I'm educating. My degree's in education. I'm a degree in school counseling, but I'm actually educating clients and brokers on why mod reviews are so important. This is not a sale. I'm not selling you a vacuum cleaner and then you have to give me $200 for it. This is an in-depth mod review that's done on contingency basis. You only pay me if I'm successful in getting you refunds due to these mistakes that we find. So yes.
So fantastic. I love the fact, I'm a third generation owner myself, second generation. I didn't think I was going to end up in insurance, but it certainly turned out to be a great career for me. I've met a lot of great people. I've been able to do a lot of good things and help a lot of people. And I can't imagine doing anything different today. And that's part of the reason I started this podcast, was just to help educate. And let's talk about workers' compensation. Let's talk about all of the problems that there are with this system. And to go back to a point you made earlier, everything about the insurance business is a human business. We have from from insurance company underwriters to their second and third level assistants to the audit review department to the audit review department who sends out third-party auditors to different payrolls and payroll providers at the company. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. I mean, there's so many different moving pieces here that it's easy for it to go wrong somewhere during that process. Fair enough?
Correct. And who's checking it, right? And that's where we come in, Todd. And that's true, right? There's so many moving parts. It's a convoluted system. Workers' compensation is a convoluted system. It's meant to be set up that way. You know, I have a partner, Marcia Cohen. I call her the mod queen, really. I mean, I'm the handsome guy that goes out to visit people and educate you on the things that, you know, how we can help you. But Marcia Cohen, her and my team, God bless them, because, you know, the stuff that they do, it's like an assembly line of gathering information, right? All the moving parts, we have to get it in order to complete our review entirely, right? So, and we'll talk about, you know, what it means in terms of time and how our fee structure is. But so, yeah, I'm with you. And right now, you know, third-party auditors are sent out to clients. You know, they go out with one thing in mind. I mean, additional premiums. Clients don't understand why. And we want to be that service that doesn't get called when the fire had already happened. We want to be proactive, right? We want to be out there, out in front. Even if there's minimal action going on in terms of workers' comp claims, we want to help every single company be out there in front, making sure that people aren't making these errors and keeping their bottom line cost at their absolute minimum.
So when it comes to, let me ask you this, Andrew, when it comes to mod audits, there's really two things that can go wrong. And you just said, even if you don't have claims, you can still have a mod audit done. And that's because payrolls are so often wrong.
That is correct. So as a part of our review, and let me reiterate this, and I think it's important if you're listening to catch the ears of those who are, right? So it's important to understand that there are three components to our review, and it's all done on contingency. And what I mean by contingency is nobody's writing me a check, not paying me a dime, a nickel, a penny, anything, unless I'm successful in going back retrospectively. I go back 7 years of information for clients, 7 years. And I can go backwards, and we check modifiers, experience modifiers, which are inaccurate. We check class codes, which can also be inaccurate. And we also check payroll, which could also be inaccurate. So I have auditors that work with me that are accountants that know the ins and outs of the system and find, you know, if overtime is missing. I mean, we check everything from soup to nuts to make sure that it's all done and reported correctly. It's not. It's 68% of the time, close to 70%, we're finding errors. If it wasn't in our favor, we wouldn't be able to maintain, stay in business. So think about it. How does a company for 30 years stay in business working on contingency? Well, there's got to be errors, right? Yeah. So here we are. And the monies that we find and the errors that we find get refunded back to the client. So the client is in the driver's seat the entire way. Client gets the refund, and then after the client gets the refund on the errors that we generate or find after we show you where they are, once the refund is in hand, we give the client 30 days to pay us half or whatever comes back to them. And if there's nothing to be found in our review, there's no charge. But at least the client or broker or agent can head on the pillow and know over the last 7 years, everything was reported accurately and correctly. And I think that's worked just as much sometimes as finding something.
So 7 years, the client or a business, or let's say a broker brings their client to you and says, hey, I don't think audits are right, which for the listeners out there, I agree with Andrew. We see errors all the time. I want to say a month ago, we worked with a client where an insurance company had overreported claims. It affected their new mod by 5 points. We just went back, had them re-report the claims the right way. Their mod drops 5 points simply because the insurance company finally reported the right data. That was kind of we didn't charge a fee for that. It was just kind of the right thing to do. We wanted to help them out. But in your scenario, to go back 7 years, you're needing audit, payroll information for 7 years, policy information for 7 years. It's a significant undertaking, I'm guessing, to get all of the data needed for you to do your job.
So yes, Todd. So in terms of time, right? The biggest kickback that I get from clients and or brokers is how much time is involved for me to have to do this work, right? Meaning the
Yes.
client and the broker. None. I mean, I get all the information. I'm going to get the loss runs, the rating data, the stat cards. I'm going to get all the missing pieces in a 7-year review. Even if the broker isn't the agent on the account 3 years ago, it doesn't matter. I get it with the authorization letters that are signed. And in order for me to do my review, I need 3 signatures. One is on a contingency form that just protects my company because the dollars go back to the insured.
Yep.
Okay. And then the other 2 forms allow me to get the information I need. Loss runs, rating data, stat cards. Like I said, I'll gather the information. My team will do the analysis work in my office. I don't meet with anybody. I gather it all. I do everything in my office, behind the scenes. And I really pride myself on keeping brokers and agents and their clients all on the same page in my work, because we all work together in one interest, and that's to help the insured. Brokers and agents, this is not their responsibility to go back 7 years in a retrospective analysis. It's too time consuming. It's very convoluted. And if they did this type of work, there would be nothing else you'd be doing. That's why I'm in business. You report a claim, the claim gets reported. After you report it, who's checking that information? That's where we come in. We check to make sure that the information that goes on between the carriers and the compensation rating bureaus or the state that the client is with, was reported accurately and on time. And like I said, statistics show that it's not, okay, for the most part. Last year alone, I refunded over $4.3 million back to companies in errors. I'm going to say that again. $4.3 million back to companies in errors nationwide across the country, whether it be mod errors, payroll errors, and or class code errors. We check it all. Our sole focus is the experience mod. And yes, we can do one without doing the other. So if you don't want us checking payroll, no problem. You don't want us to check class codes, no problem. We'll just check your experience mod or vice versa. Whatever you want us to do, we're there to help. It's all done in my office, simple process. Money goes back to the client. You get the refund, you pay us half of what comes back. No refund in hand, no fee, but peace of mind to know everything is good.
Andrew, that's a huge number. That's a huge, huge number. 4.3 million of audit errors. That's money that the insurance company gets that they're sitting on after the fact, that they're earning investment income on, that they're holding because the audit was botched.
So we send when we find an error.
My mind's blowing.
I know. Yes, 4.3 million. And by the way, this year, because we had a month last month that was the best, I think, since we've been in business. I have to run this by my father, but it was unbelievable to my eyes in terms of refunds that we were able to generate. And by the way, we're generating refunds back to companies anywhere between 1 and 3 months, sometimes 6, sometimes 5. Our turnover ratio, right? Not turnover ratio, I guess turnaround time is what I meant. We're able to generate refunds in 1 to 6 months back to companies. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. Sometimes it takes a little bit less. But in all honesty, there's no downside, nothing to lose. And anything we can put back in a company's pocket, it's a win-win.
Well, it helps the bottom line. Absolutely.
Yep.
So circle back, 3 forms. Client signs over the 3 forms. You and your team go get the data. That's really the only investment that a business needs to make to do business with your company to get a payroll audit verification and an XMOD audit verification.
That's correct. With class codes, we need a little bit more information from a client, right? We're going to need to know job descriptions, things of that nature, right? That's all well and good. I'll work with you at your time and your convenience. I want clients and brokers to understand this. My relationships with the carriers and the compensation rating bureaus are better than yours. People look at me like I have 15 heads. We've been doing this so long. We know the key players. We know those who work with us, who get things done. This is our business, right? You know, as an HVAC guy, if you need a part, okay, who are you going to go to when you need that special part to complete a job? Same thing with us. We are a business that has built strong relationships with rating bureaus and carriers want to be solvent. They don't hate us. They want to be solvent. They want things off their books. If there are errors, they want them corrected, and they want those premiums regenerated, readjusted, and have things corrected for the client. It's like auto insurance. When you go for auto insurance, the first thing they ask you is, do you have any accidents? You say no. They check your credit. Great. You pay your bills on time. Excellent. Same thing with workers' comp. They want clean, pristine payers with no losses. Even with mistakes, they want them off. Believe it or not. Mods, experience mods, can affect companies for bidding on work, okay, bidding on projects, okay, construction firms. We review any class of business, whether you're a contractor, whether you're a law firm, whether you're a landscaper, whether you're a roofer, we do it all, okay? So the class of business doesn't matter as long as the premium on the workers' comp is over $30,000, we can get it done.
Perfect. That was my next question for you. What's the minimum that, I mean, because it just doesn't make sense to do an audit on a $4,000 or $5,000 policy. There's not enough dollars there to make it worthwhile.
The juice isn't worth the squeeze, right? It's not that I don't want to help, it's just that I have to take my people away from where the money is, right? So in terms of what can be refunded. So $30,000 or more in workers' comp premium is, I'll take a client with a credit mod of a 0.87 with a $31,000 premium, because I realize that the service that I bring to the client is only going to lead to more business. And if I can help a client with a credit mod, that's even better. I can share those success stories. So I love credit mods. I love debit mods. Mods don't have to be bad. I'll look at good mods too. What do you have to lose by me taking a look? You're only spinning my wheels, but that's okay.
Well, and so a third of the time you're going to waste your time. 70% of the time you're not.
Yeah, it's a little bit less with the mods. It depends.
Yep.
When you put it all together, it's about a 65%, 68% hit ratio on all three across the board.
Okay.
That's what statistics show me.
So let's dig in here. There's three things that are incorrect with mods. And the first one we want to talk about is claims. What we see a lot of is claim or claim reserves being overreported to the rating bureau, such as NCCI, that therefore inflates the mod.
Yeah, you can see that. Yeah, so claims overreported. Another thing too with claims. I'm sorry, 1 second, Todd. Just got to. Yeah, sorry. So with claims, so not only do we see over reserving, right? And when claims are over reserved, it can obviously cause an increase. We are not claims managers, and I want people to understand the difference, right? Claims managers receive fees based on managing claims, getting people back to work, doctor's notes, tracking down claimants, right? All that stuff. Well, that's not what we do. We just check to make sure that reporting of those claims were done accurately, right? And were they coded correctly? Many times you see claims are miscoded. There are subrogation claims that aren't, if they're incorrectly reported. So yes, we check all those avenues. And even though we're not claims managers, it is very good to have us in there anyway, because we ask questions. And sometimes when you ask questions as a third party and people get to understand, that we're in there asking questions, they tend to move things along a little bit quicker for clients, which can eventually lead to claims closing, which is always good news. But that's not a mistake. That was going to happen naturally anyway, right? And that's why working with my firm, I think, is very beneficial, because we really do a lot for nothing sometimes. So it can only benefit. Yes.
All right. So claims, then payroll. That's the second thing that we check for. So payroll, usually, I've seen the laundry list. You could have subcontractors included in payroll. You can have overtime included in payroll. You can just have errors. You can have the wrong people reported in the wrong class code for payroll.
That's correct. You're 100% correct. And what about wrap-up projects and where there's a general contract and there's other, I've seen where payroll got mixed in on other, with different. There's one big project going on, but somebody else's payroll gets tapped into another company's payroll and they don't even know it. You just pay the bill. You don't know. So yeah, we check that as well, 100%. Look, it's a lot of work. I have accountants, CPA accountants working with me that do this. It's a specialized review, but we get it done. You'll be surprised. What overtime could be a difference. Restaurants, overtime, tips, so many different things. So many different things that we look into. Yes.
You bring up a good point. So if you're a business owner listening to this, or even an agent, 9 times out of 10, what we see happen is the audit worksheet with the class code and the payroll comes back with a charge to a business. And the business says, yeah, maybe that's what I had in payroll. Or they take it to Sally bookkeeper. Did you do the audit with the adjuster? And Sally, the bookkeeper, says, yeah, I did. Everything's fine. And nobody dives in any farther. And what I would like to coach people on or coach your business on are probably the sheets that you get, Andrew, is there's the actual auditor's report. And that auditor's report is going to have the name of every person. It's going to have the payroll. It's going to have the class code that they were assigned into. And you can actually true that up and back verify it with your audit information or your payroll for that year to see if it's right. We have caught so many errors of so many people being classified just simply in the wrong code. And it's not intentional, to your point. It's a human business, right? There's so many employees and people come and go and turnover happens. You never really know unless you actually go in and look. And if you're not looking at those audit worksheets on an annual basis after the audit's done, these are how payroll errors happen. And it's a huge undertaking to go back and do that 7 years for a company. No doubt in my mind.
Yep, it is a huge undertaking. And you know what? I may do the review and you fall into that 35% category where I find nothing, but that's okay, right? But you have to check it.
Yeah.
You know, nobody likes the unknown, and we're able to help you to rest, to know that that unknown was done correctly, especially with something that you think you can try to handle. But no client brokers, they don't do it. They don't go back 7 years. Clients, you go back 7 years, you're going to be calling me saying, "Where are you?" Because this is just crazy. It's so true. It's laughable, but it's funny because it's true, and it's just a lot of work. And I got to be honest, I don't do it physically. I speak, I educate. I wouldn't want to do it. That's why I don't do it. Right? My office does it. I mean, It sounds crazy. I know it, but I don't want to do it. It's convoluted, right? And that's what we're here for. We're the X mod squad is what we are, the X mod, right? So this is what we do. We check the payroll, we check the class codes, we check it all, right? We want to make sure it's accurate. And brokers should not be afraid to bring us to their clients, because if somebody else does, you don't want somebody else making you look bad. So it's best to work with me to help you with your clients before somebody else does, right? So that's my pitch on that.
All right. Fantastic. What, Andrew, you've been doing this long enough. If you were going to give businesses one piece of advice, or, I mean, what should they even look for, or what should they do before they call? Like, what can they do to protect themselves? And then when they're looking at that, if they think, okay, maybe I think we've got something wrong here, what are the red flags they should be looking for before they reach out to a specialist such as yourself?
Rephrase the question for me, Todd, because there's a lot of moving parts.
There's a lot of moving parts there. What advice would you give to businesses to make sure that audits are being, that claims, audits, and payroll are being reported correctly and their X mods right?
My advice to the clients is, how do you know whether or not your experience mod, class codes, payroll is all done correctly? How do you know, right? That's why you should never feel like you're wasting your time by calling me, because the truth is, let that be my project to dive in to see if everything is right. And I'm going to let you know either way whether it is. New class codes come out sometimes monthly, sometimes every few months. You know, how do you know? We stay abreast of all these different things, right? Experience mod inaccuracies and understanding the formula and payroll and how it goes in together is a lot to digest. So how do you know? Even with fraudulent claims, you hear a lot about fraudulent claims. Yes, the claimant can be fraudulent, but it's in the reporting that we're finding the errors, not so much whether or not the guy is out playing basketball, you know, with a broken, finger. This is about the reporting of the information, and everybody should call me. There's no wasting time here. This is you have $30,000 in premium. You should pick up the phone and call me and say, "Andrew, I need these forms. Let's get started." And I'll keep your broker involved. I cannot work monopolistic states, by the way. And I have to be on a guaranteed cost policy. So that's where my window is, what I can do.
All right. So monopolistic states, I'm trying to think. This doesn't work where states, like certain states control the state fund. I want to say North Dakota, Wyoming, Ohio, and what's the other fourth one? Is it West?
Well,
Is
Washington? Is it Washington?
Washington? There you go. There you go. What? Not Wyoming, Washington,
No,
North Dakota.
listen, there's a few. There's five. You know, they're out of my mind. Most states are NCCI for me. You know, some states have their own rating bureaus. New York, New Jersey, things like that. So
Yeah, I think Wisconsin's another one that has their own rating bureau. So
who's that? Which one is that?
Wisconsin, I want to say, has their own rating bureau.
Yes, Wisconsin.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah.
So you find most of your success in an NCCI state, which there's 41 states out of our great 50 in the country that are all NCCI states.
A lot of them are NCCI. I mean, California has their own rating bureau. New York,
Yep.
New Jersey, Pennsylvania, same thing as Delaware. Yeah, and most are NCCI. I mean, most. You know, but it's look, it's the same letters that are signed, so it's just a different authorization letter. And look, if you're unsure, give me a call. I mean, I'll let you know.
All right. So walk me through what happens. You do your audit, you find the errors, you find maybe payroll misclassified to the wrong code, people misclassified to the wrong code, over reporting of claims, and you take that to the insurance carrier ABC. How does that conversation normally go when you bring them all of this data?
So it gets sent into the rating bureau. The rating bureau, we find the mistake, and the mistake's got to be sent to the rating bureau. And then the rating bureau sends it back to the carrier and almost basically enforces it. And the carrier goes and then refunds the money back to the client.
Okay. So you're working solely through the rating bureau to go back and get the data corrected from the carrier.
You got to circle it back. Correct. So you got to circle it back. It's got to go through. Client signs the forms. We find the mistake. We go back to the rating bureau, which is the state where we find mistakes as well.
Yep.
Send the mistakes through the state back to the carrier back to the client's pocket. Even if they weren't with the same carrier, those carriers will go back in our window and have the money refunded. Now, in my 7-year sweep, I want to make it known that 3 years of mods can be changed. It's the current and 2 years prior. But how the system works is it actually skips a year. So what directly affects a mod this year was not a result of last year, it was the year prior.
Yep.
Okay, so on that tail end of that last year, you have 3 years of mod information, 3 years of claim information that go into that tail end of that mod. So it's a 7-year sweep where we can find mistakes, but the statutes of limitations allow us to have 3 years of mods change, current and 2 prior, in our 7-year sweep.
3 years of mods, up to 7 years of payroll is what you're saying.
In the sweep, yes.
Got it.
But,
all right.
But yeah, that's basically it. We can have 3 years of mods change, correct.
So do you have it where it goes back and forth, where the carrier says, no, we're right, and the rating bureau says, no, you're not right? We've got data here that says this is incorrect.
Good question. Mods, black and white. 1 + 1 is 2. It's wrong, needs to be corrected. That does happen sometimes in class codes. It can happen, sure. You know, you put a dispute in, they're like, nope, not good. Not happening. We're not budging. You know what we do? No problem. We tried. No problem. We're not going to push. We don't bully. We're very professional in what we do, folks. And you have to understand this. Your relationship relies on your relationship with carriers, right? We're respectful. We're transparent, and we understand that people's relationships are with these companies as well, and we have to be. So we do what we can, the best we can, for how we can.
Got it. So even though you might have data that says, hey, we think it's classified the wrong way, you take that to the rating bureau takes it back to the company, and the company says, no, we think it's right. Say, hey, we tried, we did the best we could. We show them the data. They don't agree with the data. Pack up and move on to the next one.
Yep. Or we may not find anything on payroll, but we find your money on your experience mod. Listen, or class code, you know, it's 3-step process. And just like you said, you'll walk away, on to the next. That's it.
Got it. And just so businesses out there know, there's only a few things. I want to say that to go back to the NCCI Experience Rating Bureau, and I'm not the level of expert that you are by any means, Andrew, but there's only certain reasons that you can go back and get a mod revised. And it's very specific, and you have to play within that field. We can't work miracles. We can only play within the rules of the framework that we're given.
That is correct. You know, we can look. I love using this. I can't make magic happen. right? So I can't make magic. I got to show you where the mistake was made, right? In order to get paid. I can't just say, okay, we watched this claim in 2017 and it closed in 2019. Therefore, because we're watching it, your mod was reduced and you'd have to pay me the difference. No, we're going to show you where the claim was. The mistake was made in that claim. And yes, not make magic happen, but it's very black and white. And I also want to bring up another good point. And Todd, I think this is very important and clients should understand this. If I'm able to successfully help a client in the current year, because I review the current year, that reduction in premium and mod can stay with the client for the next few years moving forward, 2 years. So you can see a premium reduction, mod reduction moving forward, which my company gets nothing of, because that's actually making magic happen because I'm taking credit for something that didn't happen yet. But you can see those reductions and I get nothing of it. So I don't take credit for what you save next year because your mod was dropped by 10%. I can't physically do that. That's unethical. Okay. This is why working with CCG Premium Recovery Group is the way to go. We are ethical, and it is business. It's important to know and understand how it works. And that's why 99.9% of my business, 99% of it is broker agent referred, because brokers see the benefit in bringing CCG to their clients. But clients should be aware of why their brokers should bring CCG to their attention, right? So it's a two-way street.
Absolutely. What I forgot to ask you this, by the way. What does the CCG stand for?
Cost Containment Group.
Cost Containment Group. I like it.
Price is price. Okay. Price is price. But what are we doing that's different? What are we doing that's different? What are we doing that's different from the next agent? What are we doing that's can help keep a client with somebody for life? If I'm a business owner and a producer is coming to me or, saying to me, look, I can put potentially found money back in your pocket. And you put 15,000, 20,000 back in my pocket that I didn't have. And understand this too. Here's another reason why working with us is great. You have to know when you move things around how it affects your experience mod. If you're a contractor who's bidding on work, you may not want to touch payroll or information like that because it can drive your mod potentially, right? So you have to know how things affect the client in the past, the present, and the future. And that's why we've successfully been in business and we're go-to. I mean, I'm in the tri-state area in New York, New Jersey. I'm go-to. And this is great because I need to spread the wings nationwide about what we do because we're unheard of in other areas of the country, unheard of. There's only about 10 of us. And a lot of these companies, by the way, they charge fees. They want fees up front to cover their costs. And I'll never change the business model because my people stay hungry working on contingency. Once you start charging fees, you become complacent.
Wow. No risk involved at all to get one of these mod audits performed. I want to circle back because I think you just said something that was super key. Contractors. Let's say as an example, 0.99 experience mod. They don't get work if the mod's over 1. Which we have seen that, like, that's the new thing nationwide right now. No general contractor wants to work with a sub that has a mod over 1. They don't need OSHA on their back. They don't want any claims problems. They want streamlined, 0 problems, 0 claims, efficiency on a project in its entirety. If you're a general contractor out there and you're having an odd audit like this performed, and there is actually going to be a reduction in payroll that might drive some revenue back to you, your firm, Andrew, will do the modeling to determine what the new mod's going to be, because you're going to want to juggle that, right? If that mod's suddenly going to jump to 1.01, maybe it's best to leave that on the table and not go back
That's correct.
to NCCI. So it's like it's not just about, hey, let's get the dollars back. It's like, oh crap, if my mod's going to go up because my payroll has gone down, and that all goes into the formula, and we won't bore you with that, but the less payroll you have, the more your mod swings, generally speaking, when you have a claim. So unless there's, pardon me?
I'm saying it's a weighted out. It's a weighted pendulum. One goes up, the other one goes down, depending on payroll and mod. Yes.
Yeah,
you're
absolutely.
Correct.
Same reason you don't want to cancel. You don't always want to move policies midterm, cancel and rewrite, because the impact that claims have on a short rate policy or a lower policy period move that needle in a farther range.
Todd, that is correct. And so back to that, every contractor should sign up for our review to make sure that their mod is correct, because if it starts creeping up 0.8, 0.93, 0.96, and then you call me when the fire's already lit.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's better for me to be out in front. And you know what? I may not be able to do anything for you, but if you're proactive, you're having a second set of eyes, a watchdog, making sure that mod is correct and nobody's making any clerical errors. And that's why there's backspaces on keyboards and erasers on pencils, folks, because people make mistakes.
People do.
These are clerical mistakes. They're not malicious mistakes. They're clerical. Okay. Don't pay for them. Don't let your mod be affected, and take advantage of this, because, we're not alone, where you may potentially have to pay it back. This is cut and dry. The money comes to you and you share it with me.
All right. Andrew, I know you're under a time crunch today, and I appreciate you joining us from your car to keep meetings, as I know you run from point A to point B. Anything else you want to share with us today before we get ready and wrap up at all, man?
I'm going to leave you. My name is Andrew Clark. I am the president of CCG Premium Recovery Group. Like Todd said, second generation business. I have a partner, Marsha Cohen. She is the best. I call her the mod queen. She's the best in the business. I have a team of 12 or 13 people in my office, like an assembly line, doing this work. So once you sign these forms with me, you're in good hands. My office number is 201-342-1050. I'm an extension 104. You can also email me directly at andrew.ccg@gmail.com. That comes directly, and Todd will have my information. That'll come directly to my phone. I'm always working. Never feel like you're spinning my wheels, and I'm here to support brokers, clients, account reps in any which way I can regarding workers' comp.
Perfect. So for the listeners out there, we're going to have everything on our episode page, including the website, including his LinkedIn profile, as well as his email address for you also. Nationwide coverage. Are you finding that you're having more success in one part of the country than the other?
I have clients in Alaska. I have clients in Hawaii. I can tell you this: it's a numbers game. That's all it is. I have clients that are $1 million in workers' comp premium, and I have mom and pops that are 33,000, landscaping company, locally. It's a numbers game. I may work on a client that's, $1 million in premium, find nothing. And then I get a client that's 38,000 and find $8,000. So states doesn't matter. Carriers, they all make mistakes. Okay. They all do. And I always say the state workers' comp rating bureau, they make errors the same way, not maliciously. But don't leave success to chance.
There you go. And just for I know we have carrier reps that listen to this. We have businesses. Once again, we kind of go back to the beginning. Nothing here is malicious. I think it's just the reality of there's a human component and nothing is perfect. And whether we get signals crossed, I know that some of these auditors go from firms that produce payroll records that are detailed, that are already separated out and broken out because the CFO has already done it, to the same person that just slides a handwritten pad of wages across the table and says, here you go. There's a wide range of the information that these auditors get. They try and disseminate it in the way that makes sense. And that's what they pass along to the insurance company. But in lieu of proper job descriptions, proper payroll records, misclassifications happen. And honestly, the best housekeeping starts inside. If you want to make sure it's right, have a system in place in your organization to make sure it's right. Fair enough.
I agree.
And if it's not,
and accountants send me business too, right? Accountants don't know I don't know if accountants listen, but accountants, you take the information, you're reporting it, but do you know how the system works? It's hard. Okay. So accountants, brokers, direct, account reps, being proactive with your clients, clients being proactive for themselves. Just know that I wouldn't be able to sustain for all these years if errors, didn't happen. They do.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to wrap this up. I got 3 questions here for you today, Andrew. What are you reading right now?
What am I reading?
Yeah.
Sport. I'm telling you, I'm very busy read anything, but I've been telling you, I keep up with Sports Illustrated. That's my thing. I try to keep up with sports because it only seems to be my outlet. And I'm a big, I love boating too. So I'm always reading like boaters magazines and different things coming out. So that's my, my hobby.
Nice.
Sports and boating.
Sports and boating. Those are two perfect hobbies to have. Throw some golf in there, and I think you've got it.
There you go.
All right. So I guess the next question I have for you is, what are you spending more money on than you should? And if you're a sports guy and a boater guy, I'm guessing I might know what one of those is.
Yeah. Well, the boating is break out another 1,000, right? So that's what boat stands for. So yeah, the boating is a killer. I just had a daughter, so she's a little over a year now. So I already
Congrats.
see the money's going all to her. I just had to get a third row truck, all this other stuff. So it's all going to her. But listen, she's healthy, things are good, life is good. And by the way, it goes back to just being on this good side of the business. It's rewarding. So go for it.
There's congratulations on your daughter, by the way. And I don't think there's anything better for a family than a day on the boat because they can't leave. You're there as a family unit together, having a good time.
They're trapped. That's correct.
And the last thing, what message do you want to leave with our listeners today?
Don't leave success to chance. That's what I need you to digest. It's your dollars. You work hard for them. Let me help put them back in your pocket. And if I can't, let me get a peace of mind to know everything is correct on your workers' comp.
Fantastic. All right, everybody. Thanks for swinging by this episode. Stay tuned. We've got some exciting things coming up here in the future. And Andrew, once again, thanks for taking time out of your day and dude in the car. That's a first. I absolutely love it. And once again, people, if you need a work comp audit, CCG Premium Recovery Group.com. Andrew and his team are your people to help you out. Andrew, thanks again for swinging by today.
Todd, thank you for having me. And sorry for the car, but I got to be honest with you. I didn't want to miss this because I know it's important. So I'm with you, my friend. Have a good one. All right.
All right.